I'm Kakarot197, and this is the World 44 scale high-grade Cosmic Era Freedom Gundam Revive version from the Gundam Seed and Gundam Seed Destiny series. For colors, we already get our first enormous improvement over the old Freedom Gundam, mainly visible on the wings. This time around, we do actually get two colors. We have the normal dark blue and then the very dark blue, which is almost black. And we even get that same very black blue on his plasma beam cannons. And yes, this is a separate piece. Then we get that same very dark blue on the torso, we get it on the kneecaps, even on the tips of his rail cannons. And then we look at the back, also on the backpack. Then for that normal dark blue, we also get it on his torso and on the bottom of the feet, which are unfortunately a little bit on the hollow side. Then for most of the machine, of course, we get a very nice white, set off with some little bits and pieces of red here and there. On the shoulder, on the chest right there, on his crotch, that's a separate piece, and then also on the head jewel. Then talking about the head, we also get some yellow for these V-fins here. Yet another enormous improvement over the old Freedom Gundam. And probably one of the most exciting features in my opinion is that we do get clear yellow for the eyes. Yeah, it's not super visible, but it's really cool that we're finally getting clear eyes with these revived machines in model kit. And then finally, to wrap up the colors, we also get two shades of gray. We get a more bluish gray for the rail cannons, also on his collar right there and on the inside, and for his chest fence. Then we get a more traditional gray for most of the joints, the beam rifle, and even for some really cool detailing on his cheek right there. So that is some really nice detail on a high grade. And like I said, you don't really see the eyes that well. Also, I don't think I've pointed it out yet, but of course, the chin sticker and the red underneath the eyes is also a red piece. On to the stickers, and usually a big sticker sheet like this is a bad sign, but not in this case. All of the stickers are completely understandable, and some are even the same as with the Master Grade. For example, these two big blue ones which wrap around the beam rifle, that's even something the Master Grade has you do. So yeah, that's how understandable the stickers are. Then for all of these red ones, they're the ones that wrap around the tips of the rail cannons and also the back here of the rail cannon. So those red pieces are all stickers. Then when we flap out the plasma beam cannons, that red is also a sticker, well, one on each side. And then turn them around. This here is one big sticker. Once again, the Master Grade has the same kind of sticker right there. And we get a sticker for the front camera, one for the back camera, and we get another red one to go on this piece of the shield right there. And then finally, we get these two metallic ones which go behind the eyes. So when you're like me and you go around that very nice clear plastic with a Gundam marker, the eyes do have a nice shine to them. I'm not sure how well it's going to catch on camera, but it is kind of visible. They do have a very nice shine about them when you look carefully. Or if you don't want to use a Gundam marker, you do just get the option to use the traditional eye stickers. I am a big fan of this level of choice. So overall, that means your Freedom Gundam is going to look very accurate straight out of the box. The only thing I kind of found a bit sad was that you don't get the black band that would go around the beam sabers, but so be it. On to articulation. The head goes up, bit down, rotates around all the way, backwards and forwards a bit for that chicken movement. The arms go up very far, same kind of mobility as with the revived Gundam, the RX-78-2. Here the joints go up instead of forward, so you just have that ball joint movement to go backwards and forwards. And on the Freedom, it's a bit unfortunate. I think it would have been a lot better if that hinge had gone forwards instead of up, because, well, with the RX-78-2, it made a lot of sense. Then here, the arm rotates around below the shoulder, bends at the elbow. Add two joints very nicely. Also, a really cool action feature going on. I do have a bit of armor separation. and the hands are in ball joints, will wiggle around, turn around, and do everything a ball joint does. One piece of articulation I was very happy with, the wings. Flap in and out, will rotate around, nothing special so far. They will, of course, fold out all the way very easily. And sadly enough, no individual movement here on these things. It is a high grade, but the one thing it can do this time around, the plasma beam cannons are articulated. That was the one big thing the old high grade could not do. So that's really, really good. Then movement on the chest. 3 whole ball joints going on. We have one in the front. We have one right up there, which gives us that very far backwards and forwards movement. And then there is another kind of ball joint tucked away down here. The problem with that ball joint is that it's a plastic ball joint instead of a nice polycap ball joint. So instead of giving us that, they do have like a small polycap runner with 4 or 5 of those ball joints. Instead of giving us that, they decided to just mold it in with the thing. So I really hope that's not going to wear out too soon. Then of course we have the rail cannons here, which are very nicely articulated. Fold out very easily, and then we'll kind of lock into place right there. Click them back in, and they do have these little tabs to make it very easy to fold back in and get correct. There we go. Front skirts, as always, molded together, can be separated very easily. Legs go forward, backwards, pretty nicely. Also, kind of thanks to the design of the back skirt, which, you know, has a very good form if you want to move your legs backwards. Of course, we also have that jiggle movement, so you will be able to get a bit more articulation, a bit further back, a bit further forwards. So that is always a cool feature. Legs will rotate around about that far until they of course get stuck because of the design of the legs. And they go out about that far. And you know, for a Freedom Gundam, I wasn't really expecting this kind of movement thanks to those giant rail cannons getting in the way, but really they don't obstruct it pretty much at all, and they did a really good job with that. And of course they had to fall off just as I made my point. Legs, knees bend at 2 joints really nicely. Unfortunately, no movement on this piece, on the thruster there. And then the feet are also very nicely articulated, go backwards all the way, forwards nicely. They are on a double joint, hinge at the top, ball joint at the bottom, even a toe joint. And they'll rotate around and go side to side. So as far as articulation goes, the Freedom has that typical top-notch Revive articulation. Sure, a few pieces might have been a little bit better, but as far as high grades go, it's pretty damn spot on for what the Freedom should be able to do. On to accessories, and let's start off with the standard ones. We of course get a single beam rifle with a movable handle, which is always nice. Simply goes onto the standard issue hands. And even though we don't get any pegs, the beam rifle fits into the hand absolutely perfectly. And simply goes on there. And if you don't want to use the beam rifle, there is a peg right there and a hole over there on the back skirt. So simply peg it in there and in it goes. Next up, one accessory that's already on the mobile suit, the beam sabers. And one thing I was surprised by is that they fit onto those pouches on the rail cannons very snugly. And when you look at the beam sabers, there isn't anything specifically holding them in other than friction, yet they did a perfect job. Yeah, they fell out during the review once, I think, but that's only when you really touch them and accidentally hit them. They're not just going to fall out by moving the thing around. And of course, we do get the one feature the Freedom is famous for, combining them. But first, let's put this into the hand. Isn't that an awesome sight? Of course, these are the new style, much longer beam sabers for the high grades. And combine that With the ability to combine the beam sabers, this is an extremely intimidating beam saber for a 1/44 scale high grade, and it looks fantastic. And even with both beam sabers combined, if you push the hands a bit together, they're not going to fall down. Not that that would really be an issue, but still, it's pretty impressive he's able to hold on to them that well. On to the final accessory, the shield. Unfortunately, it's also the one that is kinda a bit disappointing. Now, when you first look at it, everything looks great. Sure, it has that red sticker there, but other than that, great color separation. It's even got a handle going on here, and you can put it a bit higher, a bit lower on those two options. So yeah, what could possibly be a bit disappointing? Well, other than the hollow piece right there. That's always a great start. But when I mentioned the handle, what I probably didn't say is that that handle is the only way you're gonna get the freedom to hold on to it. Yeah, we don't get some kind of brace or anything really that could connect the shield to the freedom. Now you might be thinking, well, otherwise you'd have to put an unsightly hole onto the arm of the freedom, and that probably wouldn't look as good on the freedom. But you know what they did with the old high grade, is they simply gave you a kind of brace that went around the elbow piece. It just clicked on there, and nothing on the mobile suit, on the model kit itself, showed that that was obviously something where a toy thing would be connected to. So unfortunately, you cannot you cannot hold anything in the left hand when you have the shield in the left hand as well. And it is a bit of a fiddle to really get that shield perfectly on there. And with all of the accessories out of the way, there's only one thing left to do. The thumbnail. I'm in full burst mode. Full burst mode, of course. The defining feature of the Freedom Gundam. And thanks to a hole in his butt, he will connect to the Action Base number 2, no problem whatsoever. And, oh yeah, just to be sure, these rail cannons will of course also go up and down, no problem. Well, that means that for the first time ever, we get a perfect full burst mode in high grade format. Sure, it doesn't have the full features like the completely extending wings the master grade and the rail grade have, but as far as high grade goes, this is really nice and a really cool crowning jewel of this model kit. Oh, and if you want to be completely safe with the rail cannons, you can of course unfold the handles and get the hands on those things. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Almost. Almost. First of all, as far as high grades go, we will not mention that thing again, for it no longer exists. And really, considering that nothing over here retails for 1,500 yen, and this thing retails for 1,800 yen, the difference is so minuscule that it's totally not worth saving 300 yen over all of the features this thing has to offer. Absolutely not. And other than that, it's a really, really impressive looking machine. With that full burst mode going on for 1,800 yen, not only are you getting a nice fully featured mobile suit with a lot of accessories and a lot of playability, including a lot of posability, but it also looks pretty damn impressive if you throw in an Action Base number 2, or if you have one of the general purpose Gundam Seed Destiny stands, which should also work with this thing. All of that combined make this thing both impressive and just a good bang for your buck all around. So why did I say maybe? Did the shield really piss me off that much? Well, kind of pissed me off, but that's not the reason I said almost. It's kind of the same reason why I would recommend this over this. Like I said, the price difference really isn't that big. And the price difference between this thing and a certain other model kit, namely the real grade, isn't that big either. So before you rush out and buy this fantastic model kit, think that maybe do you want to save up 700 yen more for a real grade? Because really, this thing is 2,500 yen, so not that much more expensive. So long story short, is the high grade Cosmic Era Freedom Gundam a great model kit? Yes. Does it look impressive? Absolutely. Is it worth 1,800 yen? Totally. However, is the real grade Freedom also a great model kit? Yes. And it was released exactly at that time that the real grades finally became solid model kits and no longer fell apart by just looking at them. So before buying either one of them, just think to yourself, do you want to save 700 yen and get a more clean looking machine, that is the high grade Cosmic Era, also is with slightly less gimmicks, or do you want to spend that 700 yen extra, get a slightly more fragile but a hell of a lot more detailed looking machine with also a few extra gimmicks? Either way, I would say that you can't really go wrong with either of these machines if you like the Freedom or if you just want a cool display piece for your 1/44 scale collection. For size comparisons, first of all, here is next to the revived Ailstrike Gundam and the old high-grade Freedom Gundam. Just look at the difference in details, look at the beam rifle, look at the rail cannons, and look pretty much everywhere. Also, this was originally just all blue. Ah well. Then next to two other machines that could really use a revived release. Of course, the Impulse, not a horrible model at the time, but definitely hasn't held up that well. Also, any excuse to finally get the Blast Impulse is a good excuse. And by that I mean a no grade. And, well, the same could pretty much be said for the Dagger. It's been long overdue for both of them. And finally, here is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. Well, that's been all for this review, and see you guys next time. Now that's a Strike Freedom!